I just want to say that this isn't a knock or a slight against anyone. I respect everyone. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone is doing their own thing. And, that's really kind of what it's all about, at the end of the day. Now, as an Xbox fan, of course I'm worried about, what's happening and what the future holds for what Microsoft is doing with their platform. I really feel like they need to do a better job of explaining things and, a better job of being honest with the fans, being a little bit more, I guess translucent or whatever the case may be. The main reason being is, supposedly, they started trying to port Sea of Thieves over a year ago. And, over a year ago, they're going head to head with PlayStation for, Call of Duty, and PlayStation's literally trying to end Xbox right to exist. And yet Microsoft is going ahead and trying to port, Sea of Thieves, their biggest and only breakout new IP of the Xbox One era, to PlayStation, while all of this is going down. So, again, people are upset about that. People are upset about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right? Like, this game is the highest rated game of the year so far. Yes, it's early, but, seeing another Game of the Year type banger, and I realized that Sony, buys the timed exclusivity on this, but seeing another one of those bangers while Xbox has nothing is hurting a lot of Xbox fans. And of course, they're starting petitions. They're lashing out on, podcasts and saying, it's egregious that this game isn't coming to Xbox. Listen, I'm an Xbox fan. I am, and I play my Xbox 95% of the time, right? But at the end of the day, if you're a third-party developer, what do you care if Xbox is getting a version of your game at this particular point? Let's just be real. Whenever I see somebody arguing with me on Twitter or whatever, it's always like, yeah, Xbox is fine. Who cares if their exclusive go elsewhere because I got my day one Game Pass games. Well, there's your problem. There's why you're not getting your third-party games like PlayStation does. There's no incentive there. You've got a group of people that are being told what to play through Game Pass rather than buying the games and supporting the games that way. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I've noticed a good number of people, and I ran a poll and it was something like 35% of the people, thousands of people voted in this poll, say they have not bought a game since, Game Pass came to be, right? So why would these developers care? That makes it incredibly easy for Sony to get these third-party deals because it's not really much of a big deal skipping an Xbox platform that has a low install base. The other thing that people hate seeing is this. Why is it that, and I don't really necessarily, I don't dislike Phil Spencer. I think maybe he's probably too nice of a person, but how in the world can Xbox Series X and S be selling worse than the Xbox One, a console that, A, tried to take away everybody's rights to own a game or trade a game or buy a used game, focused on TV, had a 720p problem, forced Connect on people, was $100 more expensive than the PlayStation 4, right? Like, how did that sell so much better? And we're talking millions at the same point in time. How did that sell millions more than the current Xbox when there's one that you can pick up for like $200 most of the time, right? Like, I don't understand how that can even be a thing. It's unfortunate. So, honestly, let's kind of see what happens in the future. But, yeah, there's a lot of Xbox fans that are upset and don't understand why, Microsoft doesn't get these games. And they're like, how can this continue to happen? Obviously, with all these layoffs and stuff. Listen, Sony's not losing money. I mean, they're making money. Yes, their margins are thinner, but they've also had less games that have come out. So we're in that kind of situation where, people think that they're doing like terrible or whatever. They're going to have to continue to drive adoption of their platform, right? And the PS5 is selling better at the particular point than the PS4. And the PS4 went on to sell, 120 million units? So, I mean, this thing's on that type of trajectory, and that's just insanity when you think about it. And then when you look at the Xbox, we don't have concrete numbers, but they did show on an indie game slide. They were doing some kind of thing in Brazil, and they had a slide that showed that they were at 21 million. And and I really think that it's one of those things that that realistically puts Xbox in a in a bad spot. It puts Xbox in a terrible spot because right now having 21 million to 25 million, whatever they have sold, is roughly half or less, and PlayStation 5 is selling out almost at a 3-to-1 clip. They're almost 6 million behind now in the US, which is their home territory. And how is that going to get better by them putting games on PlayStation and Nintendo, right? Like, it's not really going to help. And people think that, and I've mentioned this, and I don't mean to be mean to you guys, because I know some of you get it, but what on earth would Sony get out of putting their first-party games on Xbox, right? A low install base, and you know what I'm saying? The most that Sony's going to get is by putting their games on PC, which is what they're already doing, right? Like, that's the biggest install base, and even then, some of their games, like their single-player games, don't sell anything on PC. They sell next to nothing. Like, I think it's cool that Helldivers did well, but that's a multiplayer game that kind of flows with what the PC people are doing. Stuff like God of War, what did like 2 million or whatever, and that's not incredibly well. And there's hundreds of millions of PCs out there. What do you think is going to do on Xbox when there's like 22 million Xboxes out there? Like, and most of the people have either already played it, like me. I already played Sony's games. I play them on PlayStation. And the other path, are they going to really pay $70 for these years and years old games? They wouldn't, so it's really this situation where people are kind of talking themselves into this stuff. And the reason why Xbox fans are talking them into this stuff is because they want Sony to do that. They want Sony to do what Microsoft is doing, so they feel better about what's happening with Xbox. But at the end of the day, that's not really going to happen. Like, Sony is a hardware company, Microsoft is a software and services company, totally different philosophies. Yes, Sony will branch out and put their games on PC a little bit more, but I still don't even see them doing that day one with the narrative games, because you risk the piracy, you risk a lot of different stuff, you risk your console sales, and your console, you own 100% of digital sales, you get 30% of the microtransactions from third parties, 30% of third-party games, which you're selling a ton of those. You want to keep selling your platform. So people are really misguided when they believe this whole thing where they think Sony is going to do what Microsoft is doing. That's not going to happen. Microsoft gave up. Sony is not giving up. They're not giving up. They're not going to do that. They're making money, right? Just because they have slimmer margins right now doesn't mean they're going to give in and give up the way that Xbox did. So anyway, I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about this. Are you someone that wants Final Fantasy on Xbox? Do you not care? Do you wish you had a Kingdom Hearts 3 coming to Xbox, or a Silent Hill 2, or a KOTOR remake, or Rise of Ronin, or Stellar Blade, all these games that are exclusive to PlayStation? Do you wish some of these games were coming to Xbox? Let me know down below. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.